Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today we're talking Week 9 waiver wire pickups. We got a few pickups for the week. When our episodes, we go to ESPN, we pick players that are owned in 40% of leagues or less. So some of these guys, there might be some better players out there in your leagues. Like I'll just throw one off the top just before we get started. If Kadarius Toney is somehow out in your league yet, go pick him up. He's only owned in 57% of leagues. He's like one of those players I was looking at. I'm like, man, how is he still? I know he's been hurt. I get it. But still, he's only owned in 57% of leagues. So if you're a league that has Kadarius Toney, go pick him up. But he's not going to be on our actual list today because that's just, he should be owned in all these leagues, but he's not. So let's go over our list for today. Again, it's not crazy, nothing crazy, but there's a couple decent options, I would say, at running back if you're hurting. You got to start yourself off with the Philadelphia Eagles running backs, right? Boston Scott, probably the main one. Jordan Howard, though, definitely had a role this past week as well. So to me, that's probably some of the top options this week is Boston Scott, Jordan Howard. It definitely looked like Kenny Gainwell is not changing his role with Miles Sanders out. Gainwell's still in the same role he's been, and Boston Scott just moved up. Jordan Howard moved up, and I don't know how it's going to play out, though. I mean, they played the Lions, so it was easy. I wouldn't feel like that confident in these guys, especially probably Jordan Howard less so. Boston Scott, I feel like a little more confident, but we saw what Miles Sanders was doing. I think this was honestly, a lot of this was the Lions are bad, and that's why these guys looked a lot better. But if you're really hurting for running back, go after these ones. Who would you prefer here? Boston Scott? Is that your preference?
I would prefer him. I think he has a little more upside. I think he has a little more wiggle left. Jordan Howard is a very viable option goal line wise, but with Hurts, I don't want to rely on that. I think Boston Scott has a little more upside to him.
Crazy thing is Jordan Howard's only 26 years old.
I know he's not.
Well, he's just about to turn 27. Actually, he probably turned 27,
but
today.
He's been around. We've seen him on plenty of teams. He has some mileage on it, and we all know for running back, and that's just not how they're playing the game at the moment. I mean, they weren't even giving Miles Sanders that many carries. So,
I should say happy birthday, Jordan Howard. This episode is coming out on November 2nd. We're recording it a little bit early. It's coming out on Tuesday, November 2nd. Jordan Howard's 27th birthday.
27.
Happy birthday, Jordan. You're a young man.
Yeah, he is. And I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that we can remember him on like doing very, very well in Chicago. And, he's still hacking away, still in the NFL. Is
doing well.
Yeah.
It was a good week for him. It was good to see him do well again, but I wouldn't feel great about either of these options necessarily, but yeah, sometimes you just don't have that option. You need to play running back, play one of these guys. These are going to be the top options for me.
Yeah. It just very, very lackluster in the running back department at the moment.
The other running back option to pick up, which is even less appealing than these two, but if he could be a starter, sometimes you just got to go with what's out there. Carlos Hyde. All depends on what the significance of the injury to James Robinson is. Yeah, I know.
Okay, I'll be honest. I would rather have the other two, and that's because of the team.
For sure.
I don't know. I mean, what kind of upside do you actually see for him?
Carlos Hyde.
Yeah,
20 carries, 50 yards.
Yeah, okay, exactly. It's like he's playing an uphill battle. I feel bad for him.
So
the only other person is what about Ty Johnson?
Yeah, so Ty Johnson. Okay. I don't know how much of that, like the Jets actually had an offense going that day, but was it a fluke? If not, and they can actually play a little bit with Mike White there, then Ty Johnson actually becomes interesting. Either way, he's still interesting more in PPR. He's had 5 catches last week. He had 6 catches the week before. That's pretty solid. He's an option. He's obviously down there. I'd probably rather play Ty Johnson than Carlos Hyde.
I agree with you.
And I'm probably there with you. Yeah. Don't love it, but I'd rather play him. Yeah, that's running backs. That's about it. So, hey, I keep reiterating it. That's why you go early on, right? Early on, you go pay big for running backs. And that's why, I guess even deeper and deeper, Mark Ingram had a little bit of a role. We'll see if that increases as time goes on. Obviously I wouldn't pick him up right now. We'll see if,
I don't hate that one. I mean, I'm not expecting anything, but if you're down at this point, at this moment,
Right.
Mark Ingram has been on the Saints before. We know that he can be productive.
Yeah.
I think that is a very intriguing one, especially with not a clear-cut number 2 behind Kamara, and now not knowing what's going on with that QB situation.
Right. Yep.
He could cut himself out a significant role. I don't expect it, but he could.
All right. Wide receivers. So this is probably still, I should be just as excited this week at this guy, Rashod Bateman. He's still out there. 19.7% of leagues he's owned, and that's it. He had a bye this past week, so he didn't get picked up like he should have. In normal week, you probably would have picked up a lot more, but people go, the average fan, the average player goes to ESPN and clicks projected, right? And goes and picks people up by projected score. Mm-hmm. And obviously Rashod Bateman's not showing up. Rashod Bateman needs to be owned in your league. 19.7% of leagues. Like, why can't I play in these leagues? He had, he's had 6 targets in both of his games so far. Last game was 3 for 80. He's going to become more and more involved as we go. He just is. Rashod Bateman should be picked up without a doubt. After that, it gets a little, it's not as exciting after that. I've been trying to find more guys to talk about here. Elijah Moore. I'm slightly interested in Elijah Moore with his 6 targets this past week, right? Then he also had 6 targets a week before. So he's had 6 targets in back-to-back weeks. He's a player that you could kind of look at if you're, again, the same thing with Ty Johnson, though. What is this offense? Are the Jets improving? Can they be more viable? Then he becomes more interesting to me. But Elijah Moore, yeah, in a keeper league, I'd even be more interested in picking him up and putting on a bench just because maybe something happens. But again, this isn't like you don't have sure things here. Then the other receivers to look at, I mean, again, it depends how desperate you are, but the Falcons need to throw the ball to somebody. Russell Gage didn't even get a target this past week. I don't know what that, I still would think he's going to become involved, right? Then it becomes, do you rather have Russell Gage? Do you rather have Tajay Sharp? Do you rather have whoever else they have?
Yeah, we just don't know yet. Gage is probably the only.
Despite the 0 targets, I still probably like him more.
Even with that, if you're going to take a shot in the dark, I would prefer it to be with Gage. But
yeah,
we don't know. If they don't believe in him, they might be saying, "Hey, this year is a lost cause. Let's try some younger guys." Maybe they are trying to see if Tajay Sharp can turn into anything. He was, he's been in the league for a handful of years already. He never really amounted to much. Maybe they're going to give him a fair shakedown. I don't know. But right now I would still think Gage, but that's, right now that's still a capped offense. I don't love it, but other than Bateman, it gets dicey pretty quickly. Well, there's not a lot on the waiver wire.
Or you're still you're looking at like AJ Green and Christian Kirk again. They're still there. They're just below 40%. They're those bye week guys, right? That if you have nothing, that's when you go throw AJ Green in there. You go throw Christian Kirk in there, right? That's what they are. I don't think that either of them have huge upside, but they feel safe-ish, right? Like, okay, minimum, they're going to get you 40, 50 yards. Your worst case, you're getting 5 points in standard, right? That's about, I think, worst case with those guys. So they're there. And then Jamison Crowder's out there again. If you want to, a lot of Jets here. Jeez. They only had 1 good week. We should calm down a little bit. But Jamison Crowder's, I would say he used to be more consistent. He really hasn't been that consistent this year in his 4 games. He had 7 catches in his first one for 61. He had 8 for 60 or 8 for 84 in this past one, but he had those 2, 4 for 24 and 4 for 34 in between there. So it's not terribly consistent, but sometimes you just got to roll with that, what's out there. And this isn't the greatest of weeks either. It's just, that's what happens, I think, midseason a lot in fantasy football. Once in a while, you get a guy that comes around. This really isn't that week. Other guys, I guess you could look at Darius Slayton. He's interesting. We're recording this before the Chiefs game, Monday night game. So we don't know what he's done yet. He did have 5 for 63 last week when he came back from injury. So Darius Slayton, he could jump up, maybe has a big game and jumps up even more. But yeah, that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. The only other name I want to mention is Bryan Edwards right now on the Raiders. So they had a bye this week. But he's coming back. They're going to play the New York Giants and then KC, which has been atrocious. He hasn't had the volume I would have liked, but he's definitely going the right direction. He's a big wide receiver. they're a pretty good team. So I think he's worth, if you're really struggling, I think he's worth taking a shot at, throw him on your bench and seeing if he can prove himself over the next 2 weeks, who should be, wide receiver friendly.
Right.
Other than that, a very, very long shot, I wouldn't even throw him on your bench yet. But when teams are really, really bad, you start seeing if there's any useful talent as far as like young guys. And Nico Collins, who kind of fits the bill as far as stature and athleticism for Houston, which I don't want to play anyone on Houston at the moment, but I think he's interesting. This past week, he caught 4 balls for 55 yards. You just wonder if he can turn into anything. I would just keep an eye on him, but that's just for fun since there's not a ton of waivers at the moment.
All right, let's go over to quarterback. So actually, no, tight ends quick first. I just want to throw out one quick name at tight end. Just Pat Freiermuth. He's had a couple of games of some decent targets in a row. Got to touch on this past one. Tight ends, always thin. So keep him on your radar. I wouldn't pick him up and start him next week, but just keep him on your radar. Quarterback wise, let's look for some streaming options here, Jeff. I guess even before streaming options, there's just 2 players you'd probably look at. Like Taysom Hill, you should look at picking him up. Like this is more than just streaming right now for me, based on his rushing ability and how they used him before. Go pick up Taysom Hill, and he plays Atlanta this week. I know it's kind of risky to play him right away, but hey, I wouldn't fault you if you did it. To be honest, I think he could actually do something against the Falcons.
I agree. Yeah, then, what a good matchup to come in on.
Justin Fields came out a little bit, had a good game with the rushing this past week, but he plays at Pittsburgh. I just don't love it yet, to be honest. I want to see more from Fields before I feel comfortable playing him. I don't know if you feel the same.
I do. That was a great step in the right direction, but he was so bad the couple of weeks before. If they continue to let him rush and kind of stretch his ability, I think he'd be a really interesting, bye week fill-in. But right now, I wouldn't touch him, especially when you have someone like Carson Wentz, who's only owned in 31% of leagues.
Carson Wentz, is the guy.
Yeah,
playing against the Jets. Playing against the Jets.
Yes, I mean the next 2 games, Jets and then Jacksonville.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Should be very, very good matchups. I'm not expecting this guy to go bananas. But he will.
Right.
He's just a very, very solid QB that you'll enjoy his output, especially against bad teams. And right now, him and Pittman are really on the same page. I like what is happening there. I think Carson Wentz is it's just a strong start, let alone a streaming.
Out of streaming option, I'd play Wentz first, then Taysom. I'd play Wentz over Taysom this week. I would definitely do that. And actually, I'll go back to Justin Fields for a quick second. So he plays at Pittsburgh this week, then has a bye, then plays Baltimore. I don't know if I play him for the next 3 weeks. Obviously, don't play him in the bye, but I think you then play him at Detroit after that.
I'm going to go for a risky one. I say play him on the bye.
You could try it. See how it works.
Happens.
Hey, I played a guy today or the other day that didn't play, and it worked out for me.
How pissed are you that the guy you're playing right now, he has to be like, give me a break.
I can't believe I didn't get that switch made. I thought I did, but hey, whatever. I got the win. But then when when Fields plays Detroit, there you go. So streaming options, obviously Wentz we think is number 1. Taysom Hill's Taysom Hill's probably my number 2 this week. After that, it becomes look at some of the guys here. Daniel Jones is playing against the Raiders. I don't know about that. Tua against Houston. I think Tua can have a good game there. Tua needs a good matchup to be good. This could be one of them where he becomes one of the better options for you this week. Because other ones, Trevor Lawrence is playing Buffalo. I don't want anything to do with that. Teddy Bridgewater. I don't want Teddy Bridgewater, really, to be honest. No. He's playing against Dallas. Darnold against the Patriots. No, thank you. Roethlisberger playing against the Bears. I mean, Roethlisberger, he's not the worst option ever streaming. If you ever have to play Roethlisberger, you know what? You're probably okay with it. It's not great. You don't expect a lot, but it's whatever, right? But yeah, so those not a lot of great options this week, I'd say. Other than Wentz, for sure.
Yeah. How do you handle Mike White? I know people are gonna. I
can't do it. Okay. I can't do it.
I can't either.
There is no track record at all, and it's the Jets. So
and you're about to go against at Indianapolis, and then you have Buffalo right after that. I mean, if he does well against Indianapolis, he might be worth grabbing for a stretch if you need him during bye weeks, like 11-12, Miami at Houston, and then at Houston. That's great, but Indianapolis and then Buffalo is a buzzsaw to come off of that big game against Cincy. So I agree with you.
All right, let's look at some defenses here. See if there's any streaming defense options here. I'll go a little higher percentage wise, just because defenses get dropped and are less owned a lot of times. Mm-hmm. So normally this would have been a quick, easy one. Would have been Colts against the Jets, right? You would have just came out and said, "Yeah, for sure, go play that one all day long." Well, we'll see. I still like the play, but
yeah, I'm still going.
I'm still going for it. I just don't feel as confident as I once did in it. That's still a really good play for me. I'd go with that one. Yeah, there's a lot of other ones that I don't necessarily love. I'm just looking through these Dolphins. Dolphins are playing against the Texans. So the Dolphins haven't been great, but that's where you go, I guess, if you're really, just looking for a good matchup, and that should be a good matchup, you would think. But the Dolphins haven't been great. They have not been great. But they didn't let Buffalo just destroy them either last week. So it gives me some hope that they can really shut down Houston. We'll see. But streaming defenses, I'll throw some names out here. So say Panthers are playing Patriots. No, I don't really care for that. I mean, who knows? It probably could be a low scoring game, right? That's probably a low scoring game. So maybe Cowboys playing Denver. I'm not bad. I'm not against that one at all.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah,
and they're owning 50% about. Yeah. So they're going to be out there. That one would be very high on my list.
Yep. Falcons playing against the Saints. I just don't trust the Falcons, but again, they did hold down Carolina, and I guess it's interesting because maybe Taysom just comes out there and doesn't do anything. I don't see it, but hey, I guess it's an option. Packers against Chiefs. Nope. Bears at Pittsburgh. Probably not wanting to go with that. Vikings at Baltimore. I'm not going to do that one. Eagles playing against the Chargers. No, I'm not going to do that one. Raiders against the Giants. Maybe.
Maybe.
I can do that. Titans at Rams, not a chance. I don't care about the Chargers at Philadelphia. I don't. Philadelphia again. They put up 44 last week. I wouldn't want to do it. You're not playing the Chiefs. You're not playing the Jets. You're not playing the Giants. You're not playing the Jags. You're not playing the Lions. You're not playing the Texans. So there's a couple options for you. After what the Lions did this past week, I'd start just finding defenses that play against them every week. But this week, can't this week. But after that, go look for them.
Yeah. And did you already mention the Saints?
Yeah. The Saints, they're playing against Atlanta. Yeah.
Atlanta. Yep. Okay. Yep. I just want to make sure. I know that they're a little higher.
Yeah. So I don't think I did because I think I started talking at the Colts.
56%, but he would, if we're going down,
if they're there,
number one that I would
they're out. They're available in whatever league. Yeah. In our main league right here. They're available, Jeff. There we go. Yeah. Don't go pick them up. I might. No, actually, I think I'm rolling with the Dolphins this week against Houston, hoping for the best. We'll see.
Yeah, see how it goes. That sounds like a pretty good matchup too.
See how it goes. But all right, there we go. There's waiver wire. Go get yourself some Boston Scott, I guess, for this week. No, Rashod Bateman. If he's out there, go pick up Rashod Bateman. Rashod Bateman, Taysom Hill. Those two right there could actually make differences down the stretch. So go pick those guys up.
I like that a lot.
But all right, talk to you guys next time.